Hello everybody, welcome back. My name is John. This is my channel, The Origin Factory. Thank you for stopping by. Today we're going to talk about painting the trim or the moldings around windows on polycarbonate bodies for RC cars and trucks. But before we get to all that, a little channel business. First of all, thank you to all our subscribers. That's what helps us the most right now. We're a new channel. We're about 3 months in. And the subscribers is what helps us the most. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. Like I said, that helps us out the most right now. If you're already a subscriber, if you can please continue to comment, like, and share. All of that helps us with YouTube to help us grow our channel. So, on to painting. So first of all, I'm going to pop up a picture here of one that I painted a little while ago to show you how good, show it something is a little easier to see, because the one we're working on today is a little bit darker colors, so it's going to be a little bit harder to see, especially on a small screen. I don't know how it's going to look on your phone, but it should show up pretty good on TV. But anyways, so here's a white background. You can see the black trim around the doors and the windows. And so that's what you call like a rubber gasket or a molding, on your cars. And it's just to give it a little bit more of a prototypical look. And what I'm going to be using today for materials is I use Tamiya paints, and I use their PS, which is designed for polycarbonate. I'm going to be using PS5, which is black. And I'm also going to be using PS55 on top of the black, which is a flat clear. And because, as you know, when you paint from the backside, the polycarbonate gives it the shine because that's what's on top. And today we're going to be painting on top of the polycarbonate. So it's going to have a little bit of a flat look to begin with, but I'm going to add the flat clear to it just to add a little bit more flatness to it so it resembles rubber a little better. So anyways, so that's what we're going to be using. We're also going to be using isopropyl alcohol to clean the surfaces that we're going to paint. I typically use 91% or stronger isopropyl. The 70%, I think, I forgot the other one that's kind of common. It's like high 70% or low 80. That one I have troubles with because there's more water in it and it just doesn't flash off or dry as quickly. So I tend to stay away from that. I just don't have as good of results with that. So I always stick with 91% or stronger. So we're going to cut away to a little overhead video here and show some of the details. And I'll be back to you in a minute. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to cut away the outside protective coating with a fresh blade, an X-Acto number 11. I'm going to cut out that raised area, which is supposed to be like a rubber molding that's molded into the body there. I'm going to cut away just the protective coating on that raised area, leaving the rest of the protective coating behind. And once I've removed it all around all the windows, I'm going to paint it black. And I think I'm also going to black out the hood. So I'm also going to cut out all the protective coating around the hood, on the body lines. I'm going to cut the coating at the body line all the way around it and remove the whole center section of the hood, so I can do that flat black. Kind of like a fiberglass power bulge hood, like a 60s muscle car type look. Since this does have a raised hood and that kind of fun stuff. And it'll go with the grill that I'm using with it also. So I'm not going to video every single window I do because this is kind of a slow process and it's kind of hard to do without sticking my head in the way of the camera. So hopefully I don't have to stick my head in there so far that you're going to see my head more than what I'm doing. Let's add a little bit more light. It looks a little bright. Let's cut it back a little bit. Let's try that. So I'm cutting away the vent glass right now. And do your best to do one continuous cut, otherwise you have to restart, which may or may not connect with the other end of the cut. may lead to it pulling away the external coating, which we don't want to do. We want to use that protective coating as a mask so we don't have to tape the whole thing to do the moldings. Yeah, this is going to be hard to see because I got to get my head right in there. So you got to cut both sides of that raised area because you want to leave the protective coating over the glass also because you don't want to paint the windows when you do this. So you're basically cutting out a circle here. And trying to leave behind the center. Now I'm peeling up the center of it. And it's peeling up. And it is lifting in the corner there because the corner, I did not connect the cuts perfectly. So it's trying to lift up the center right now. And hopefully when I catch it early enough, doesn't impact lift, it won't lift the center. So there it's lifting the center again. There, you see how this is shiny right here? That's because there's no protective coating there. We left the center intact and we left the outside area intact, so that's going to be a mask for us so we can paint it black. And if it does bleed through a little bit, I'll use a Q-tip and Tamiya's polycarbonate body cleaner, which is a good paint remover. And I'll just use a Q-tip and go in there. And when I do these, I don't put the paint on heavy because I know that this mask has been lifted a little bit and I don't want to do a heavy amount of paint and have it bleed underneath and have a bunch of cleanup work. So I'm going to dust it really light and I'm only going to do 2 coats because the being black up against a dark color, it's going to cover really quick. So dust it once, take a really good inspection of it to see if you got good coverage. And then give it one more coat and then walk away from it and be done. Do not add a bunch of paint to the moldings for doing these rubber gaskets. It'll create all sorts of problems. To do it this way, you got to do it really light. And if you're thinking, hey, what if I just brush painted that? No. Then you're applying way more paint than if you were to spray it. So yeah, don't try to brush paint and use that mask because when you're brush painting, you're going to be putting the paint much heavier than if you were spraying, and it's for sure going to go underneath it. Whereas when you just mist it lightly with aerosol, with a spray paint, it puts it on so much lighter. So yeah, don't even consider doing that. Anyways, I'm going to cut out the rest of these and I'll get back to you. So if you look around the window here, That's what we painted. That black line around the window to give the appearance of like a gasket or trim around the window. We did it there. Also did it around the quarter glass. Like I said, and that's using the protective coating on the exterior of the body. So this technique only works on a fresh body. So if you have an existing body that you want to add to this to later, then you have to tape off everything on the truck basically to paint the moldings. So this technique unfortunately doesn't help you if you've already painted your body and peeled the coating off. Then you'll have to do it the hard way and tape off everything. So this is something to do for future bodies, you know, not for something you have already. But this is a huge time saver compared to doing it without that coating. Like I said, that cutting out this stuff with your X-Acto knife, it maybe adds 15 minutes to the paint job. And also, when you're cutting that stuff, it is very thin material, if you've noticed when you peel that stuff off. You do not have to use very much pressure to cut. I mean, you don't have to worry about, you're not trying to cut into the polycarbonate. You're just trying to cut through that material. And what helps you the most also is a fresh blade. So don't do it with an old blade. Use it with a sharp blade. Otherwise, it doesn't cut very well. It cuts best with a sharp blade. And that's what gives you the ability to peel it up easily. And I didn't end up blacking out the whole hood, but what I did do was just the, I don't know, you call it the power bulge. So to do that, you know, I cut out this area here and left the protective coating on there. So you can see how helpful that is compared to doing it from the backside and trying to mask off that area. But of course, then again, you know, this paint is exposed to damage. I mean, if it were to rub up against something, I mean, it does have a fair amount of strength, but it is going to show wear. But in this area here, you typically don't have impact with your roof. So this will last pretty good. Same with the moldings. You know, the moldings, you generally don't, the vehicle doesn't roll over and hit on the molding area. Usually it impacts in the larger, flatter spots. So this stuff is pretty safe. But I mean, I have used black on the roofs on the exterior to give it a flat black look. And it does hold up fairly well for something you drive hard. So, and then there's the back window. As you can see, goes around the outside edge here of the glass. And so to make it look make it look decent, you got to cut it really narrow, you know, just to the actual width of the molding. But yeah, see how nice that looks? Nice and thin. Just adds that little extra amount of detail. Of course, you know, I'm using rattle cans, aerosol cans, meaning, Tamiya's PS line of paint. Could, of course, also do this with an airbrush. But, of course, make sure it's a paint that's safe for polycarbonate. On the exterior, I would not use a water-based paint because I have a hard time with water-based paint having any sort of mechanical strength. So over time, it seems like if it's in an area where it could be rubbed, it may flake off. So I'd suggest you only use a solvent-based paint for doing this technique, because solvent-based paints that are designed for polycarbonate, they bite into it. You know, they have a chemical bond, whereas the water-based paints just doesn't bond as well. I've had problems with waterborne paint flaking out from impact, like to the body and such. So anyways, like I said, this only works when you still have the protective coating on the outside, because like I said, you're going to leave the majority of it there and cut out just around the areas you want the molding, peel it up, spray it, and then when you're done, you get to peel it all up. And like I said, if there's any leak through, like on the edge or whatever, then use your Tamiya polycarbonate body cleaner or something equivalent and a Q-tip and just clean up the area. I wouldn't do it right away. I'd wait till the paint set up for a couple days, because if you take a Q-tip that's wet with solvent, you might take the paint off the molding. So be careful when you're doing any cleanup work as to not touch that paint. Try to only touch where you want to remove paint. So what do you think of that technique? You think that's something you'll try out? Like I said in the video, it's only works if you haven't removed the exterior coating on your body. So those of you guys that got an existing body or existing paint job on a body and you've already taken the coating off, then you got to do it the old-fashioned way and cover the whole thing in tape just to leave a little hairline, just leave a little narrow stripe around the windows and stuff. So this is for future bodies when you paint anything else. Also, before you put any paint down, use isopropyl to clean up the surface just to make sure there's no residual of anything on the body, because that'll prevent the paint from bonding to the polycarbonate. And like I said, I highly recommend you use a solvent-based paint so it bites into the plastic a little bit, because there's a chemical bond with the solvent-based paints, and I don't have as much luck with doing this technique with, say, a waterborne paint. And it will work with an airbrush also. And like I said in the video, also don't try to brush paint the moldings. It'll be way too much paint applied and it'll go underneath the mask. That mask is really light and thin, and with that cutting and lifting out the center ring there, that we want to paint, it kind of lifts it up a little bit and it's more susceptible to paint going underneath it. But I've found that when I use a spray can or an airbrush, I haven't had problems with paint going underneath it, and that's because you're applying it so dry, much drier compared to brush painting, for example. And if you do have any, use some Tamiya polycarbonate body cleaner and a Q-tip to clean up. That usually works the best. And like I said in the video, also wait a day or so before you try that, because that paint you just put down is going to be really soft, and if you brush up against it with the Q-tip, that polycarbonate body cleaner is going to take the paint off. So be very careful with the cleanup process so you don't damage your work that you just put down. So I guess that's about it. If you guys have any comments or ideas or variations of this that you've tried, or any suggestions that worked for you, please leave it in the comments. Also, once again, if you haven't subscribed already, please do. That's what helps us the most. Or like, comment, share, all the other stuff helps us out. So anyways, thank you guys for watching. If you made it to the end, God bless you for holding on this long. I know this is another kind of a long video, but I appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. Have a great week, and God bless.